direct brain-computer interfaces, millions of tiny nanorobots inside your body, hacking human beings, the ability to hack humans. It's the thing, it's the gadget, it's the technology that converts biological data into digital data that can be analyzed by computers. Now, today, or in 5 or 10 years, any algorithm of Microsoft or Amazon or the government would be able to know such a thing. And COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. We want to stop this epidemic. We need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin. Exactly the same technology can determine what you think about the government. The thing is, we know that you are watching this and we also know how you feel. You just have a lot of sensors and an AI which analyzes it, and that's it. You have the worst totalitarian regime in history. And COVID is important because COVID legitimizes some of the crucial steps, even in democratic countries.
What has been very clear is that the nanotechnology is self-assembling and that it is evolving and that the amounts we see in the blood is exponentially growing. And what I mean is also the unvaccinated, because what I've been saying from the beginning is that this technology does shed, it is self-spreading, and that now these symptoms of what people call long COVID, I call it the disease of self-assembling nanotechnology, because these technologies, they can contain payloads, but they can also assemble into technology. And one of the things that you and I have discussed a lot is the idea of hacking humans and making cyborgs, creating automatons. And now in my research, I've been documenting self-assembling mesogens. What are these? So these are DNA-like biosensors that are also literally able to create antennas. They are able to genetically modify people. They are able to act in a way that is truly this brain-computer interface. The fusion of humanity is happening. So those that are heavily shedded upon are also affected. And it's important to understand, if we want to save the natural human species that is unmodified, then these are topics that we have to address. Yes, and I've been showing under the microscope, microrobots and nanorobots and how they self-assemble, and really how the blood is being transformed into a polymer mesh network. And these robots are literally in charge of transforming the human blood. They're using the human blood as an energy source. So they are in the process of harvesting the energy, are creating these rubbery clots, and I filmed that. As well as that they are this bidirectional telemetry. They are able to absolutely be able to externally be controlled, but also that they are creating this rouleau formation, exactly what you're seeing in this video. That's a microrobot right there. And these things are multiplying at a rate that is extraordinary. And Ray Kurzweil discussed that self-assembling nanotechnology that is uncontrolled and self-replicating is really an extraordinary threat threat to humanity, because even those who have developed this stuff cannot control these nanorobots. And so that's really of concern, because if we think about that humanity now has these things swimming in their blood, you can see here exactly in these spheres how the robots are moving, and they are creating these polymers that again are part of technology, but they are also part of the synthetic biology fusion and the clots, and that all of that is then hijacking the human life force and human electricity, causing all diseases of aging. So you have this accelerated aging process even in the unvaccinated. This stuff sheds, so people in their social interactions, they are affected, and the more they are affected by it, the more it replicates, and the more you see of it in the blood, and then diseases also happen. What you see here is amazing footage of an extremely fast swimming microrobot. I mean, if you don't think this is artificial intelligence, look at how fast they are able to coordinate around these red blood cells. I'm moving my microscopy board extremely fast to be able to just follow them. And what Ray Kurzweil discussed was these microrobots, they are literally computers on their own. They now have the capacity, and I showed this in my analysis of the messagen, that there is quantum computing capability, at least in terms of the polymers. And so these robots also, if you think about interaction with electromagnetic field or these pulsed microwaves that we've seen reports for, what are they doing? And we know that they can also affect the brain and even connect through nanowires, what's called a connectome, this brain-computer interface. They can modulate our brain function even without our knowing, because people don't necessarily know that this stuff is in their blood unless you look at it. But weaponized nanotechnology that was clearly deployed under the cover of these COVID-19 shots, and it is used to create humanity 2.0. And I want to remind everyone that the technocratic transhumanist plan is to create humanity 3.0, so this was in Ray Kurzweil, who's really an unofficial spokesperson for this movement. And he wrote in his book, The Singularity is Near, in 2005, everything about these nanorobots. He clearly discussed that by 2020, we will have these nanorobots floating around in our blood, that they will modify humans without their knowing, that they will change how the brain is operating, and literally that these robots will be able to 3D print and take over genetic material, print out any polymer or other electronic devices inside of the body. Well, that's exactly what I'm seeing. With these mesogens, and they have this predictive programming aspect that they're telling us exactly what they're doing. And guess what? They're doing it.
Direct brain-computer interfaces, millions of tiny nanorobots inside your body. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin.
So in 2004, there was a study by NASA. They already have created these kinematic automata that were able to self-replicate at that time. Self-replication means that these nanomaterials or nanorobots, they can create a copy of itself, and that's been available for a long time. Robert Freitas, who is a colleague of Kurzweil and who's really a leader in cryogenics, extreme life extension, nanotechnology, he always has been warning against the self-replication. But what we see in the blood is exactly that. Look at these little tiny robots and what they can build in the blood. Clearly, over the past year, there has been a significant worsening about what we see in the blood. Other researchers have confirmed this around the world. I'm not the only one who's saying this. But I've been filming the robots in very particular ways because I want to tell people it's like this is growing from the nanoscale, it's growing larger and larger until it's microscopic. And so it is absolutely for real. And this self-replication, it is also written about as the gray goo scenario, could potentially cause an extinction level event to our biosphere because you're never allowed to have self-replication uncontrolled in a biosystem because it will just take over all of the energy in the system and ultimately nothing is left but the robots and the host is dead. So the global brain chip was really the research of Dr. Hildegard Staninger, who is a world-renowned nanotoxicologist and expert in these advanced nanomaterials, who in 2012 wrote a book about her findings and analysis of chips that came out of targeted individuals that she chemically analyzed. And she explained that mesogens are DNA sensors and smart materials that even at that time were injected into people either by means, for example, of microweapons or, for example, nanotechnology from Morgellons disease. But these people, for example, had developed tumors like meningiomas. She analyzed it, and it was made from these polymer materials with metals in them. They were conductive. And specifically out of Morgellons victims came what's called mesogens, and it looks like a little plastic chip, a little bit strange. Sometimes it has multiple colors in it, but there are antennas in there that are able to transmit information and ultimately also mind control people. So I started looking at the blood and documenting the self-assembly of the nanotechnology, and I started to see very similar structures. And then I did deep dives in terms of how polymers can self-assemble as nanowires. They use semiconducting capabilities. They can build capacitors. They have different antennas, for example, that have what's called chiral optical properties, meaning that they can work through optical photonic signals. And what this also means is that, for example, there are these nanowires that can connect with these quantum dot-like microrobots because they become part of these structures. But ultimately, what is important for people to understand is that those who's been heavily shedded upon now have the same technology in them. And this is what I really want to raise the alarm about, because again, what we said earlier, they want to transform all of humanity, absolute surveillance of every cell. We've talked before that they want to digitize every microbe, every living organism, and genetically engineer it and fuse it with synthetic biology. So the issue with having these mesogens and electronic devices that are used for soft robotics in our blood, it means that the unvaccinated are changing too, and we are literally fighting for the survival of the natural human species.